Whoa, that's right. I'm here because it's that time once again, folks. It's wake up. West Coast, it's lunchtime. Out here in Michigan, it's 12 noon. That means you guys over there on the West Coast, like Coach Jenny, are just getting up and out of bed and doing her thing and starting their day. This is the holiday special that I told you guys I wasn't going to do, but I did anyway because I had talked to Coach Jenny a couple of weeks ago, and I had said to her, look, we've got to get together and talk and do a show out on Get Vocal. And we kind of had bounced back and forth on that, but we haven't really set one up until like 2 weeks ago. Or the end of last week or something, and I told her I was going to do this, and then it was like I did my finale last week, and I forgot to bring the coach on. So we're going to bring her on today and talk to her about her book, Hilda, which is one of those things that, like her now sitting on my shoulder, she's that little naysayer that tells you what you're not supposed to do or what you shouldn't be doing, and yet, in a sense, there's a way to get rid of her and flick her off your shoulder. So we're going to bring Jenny out here in just a minute to talk to her about that. So welcome to the broadcast, everyone. I'll be opening up the seats, but please don't jump in until after we've had a little bit of a discussion with Jenny to start things out. I'll open the seats up again after I bring her in, and then we'll go from there. So Coach, hop in, grab a seat, and if you're out there on Facebook or out on YouTube, please leave a comment. We're trying to bring the comment feeds in, but there's been an issue this morning, so you may just have to come over to Get Vocal. Jenny, how you doing today?
Fantastic. How are you, sir?
No, I can't hear you. What? Check your, maybe it's just me. Let me double check. Can everybody else hear her besides me?
Can you hear me?
Let me make sure.
Hello. Steve can hear me.
Yeah, that was me. Okay. Let me
You
try
have to
again.
turn the volume on.
No, it's that I didn't have it on the right one.
That's one of the
It's all
technical things I
good.
do know.
I love it. So I'm so glad you were able to make it over here today, Jenny. I know it was last minute notice. We were out here, last Friday, hanging out for just a little bit of a thing with Preto and the gang. And I said, Coach, let's do a show on Monday because it's the holiday. We've already observed Hanukkah because we're Jewish. I didn't know what kind of holidays I know you probably do a Christmas of sorts, whether it's maybe not at all. Tell me about what your holiday is going to be like this year.
Yeah. So Wednesday, my beautiful wife and I are leaving to visit a couple friends for a quick overnight. And then we're getting on a cruise ship. We like to float around the Caribbean during Christmas. Yeah, this is the third year that we've done that. It's wonderful. So we'll be I think we'll be between Puerto Rico and St. Kitts or something Christmas Day.
Very nice.
So that'll be really lovely. Yeah.
So that takes off after this week's over? You're just going to disappear for the rest of the year and be gone?
We leave Wednesday, and then I'll come back full to work after the new year. But yeah, I always take the last week and a half off of the school year. My wife works in education. And so our vacations are dictated by kind of a school year. And even though I'm in my 40s, I still do spring break apparently. So yeah, that's how we roll.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm going to lock these seats real quick just so that no one else jumps in while we're having our little conversation for the first few here.
Appreciate it.
So I just wanted to let people know, you being the coach that you are, you and I got together and met over on Blab. That was where we first got together back in 2015. You were doing a show over there before you wrote the book, weren't you? It was just like a daily coaching show, a weekly coaching show. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing on Blab?
Absolutely. So, I've been coaching since 2006. So by the time Blab came along, I was 9 years into my business. And while I was on Blab, what I was using that for is, continuing my coaching messages. And that's actually where I did the research for my book for Hilda. I did it in a bunch of Blabs. I hosted these online live Blab sessions. Oh, look at that. That's so pretty. These online live Blab sessions, asking people really personal questions that are none of my freaking business in order to get to the core of who Hilda is, that voice in your head, and figure out all of her different layers. It was really powerful. Many, many, many of the stories that you see in Hilda were edited up, but they were transcribed from Blab conversations. So it was really cool.
Yeah, and it really came down to the fact that you got a slice of pie out of that whole group of people that was in there. You had a lot of people that you could sift through. So this little naysayer that sits on our shoulder, is obviously going to make a presence at this time of year. She's going to be that individual that tells you can't go to your aunt and uncle's for Christmas, or that you shouldn't be out drinking for the night. Or, I mean, is she safe? Is she bad? Is she good? Does she ever protect you versus get in your way? Give me an idea how
there's a couple of layers
works during the holiday.
Yeah, there's a couple layers to this, Leland. See, so Hilda is the name I give for the voice in your head who tells you you suck. She's the inner critic or the inner saboteur, the inner gremlin, whatever you want to call it. I call her Hilda because she needed a name so I could tell her off. So name yours whatever you want. But so Hilda is that voice in your head who's been collecting messages to use against you to keep you stuck and keep you small as much as humanly possible. But here's the layered part, my friend. Hilda doesn't just make this shiz up. She gets it from somewhere. And at the holidays, and I say this with love, many of us will be headed out and sitting at tables filled with what I call human Hildas. You know, the original sources, the people who pass the potatoes with a little question like, how's business going for you? Or they say, will you pass some turkey and how's your love life, right? Like these little questions that, you know, there's a question within a question. It's like a dig. So at the holidays, not only do we have to battle our inner Hildas, but we also have to battle our human Hildas. Have you had that experience, Leland?
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, I would have to agree. This time of year was difficult for us during a transition we made because most of my family was Christian all along. And then my wife and I kind of separated from that Christian holiday celebration. And I'm going to get a lot deeper into the 38 holidays that actually take place this time of year, that when a lot of people out there express, you know, it's that time of year where everybody says either happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Well, no, sometimes they say happy Hanukkah or happy Kwanzaa, or sure, there's so many other ones. You know, there's just, so I'm going to discuss those after we get done talking about Hilda. But has she ever just like appeared out of nowhere in the most inconvenient position for you? Like, how is it that Hilda came to be in the first place? Was it just somebody? I know you assigned her a name for yourself, but when was it you actually were able to identify you had a Hilda? How do you know you have a Hilda that's telling you this stuff all the time?
Good question. So I originally, you know, I'm a coach. So my whole job is to ask a bunch of questions and to help people discover their own solutions and to really do some digging. So Hilda came out of a coaching session originally, like 12 years ago, when I was working with a client who was writing on her coaching agenda as well. I just have all of these thoughts and my inner critic's bothering me. Like the third or fourth session, and she's like, I'm so tired of calling this broad the inner critic. It just sounds like such a fancy LinkedIn title. So okay. I just kind of blurted out of my mouth, let's give her a name. I don't know. Let's call her Hilda. And we both laughed immediately and we kept going with it. So I started introducing Hilda to more and more people. And every time I did, people chuckled because it's funny. It's ridiculous. I mean, look at her. She looks like that blonde I hated in high school. It's ridiculous, right? But by making it ridiculous, you're able to actually deal with her. But yes, here's where Hilda shows up. Hilda shows up and gets really loud whenever we're doing something that matters.
Yeah.
Okay. Hilda wants desperately to hold you back and to make sure that you sabotage yourself from anything you really, really want. So if you're on the path to do something that matters, maybe you're writing a book or you're starting to be a big time get vocal broadcaster or whatever it is that you're choosing to do, Hilda gets really loud because she wants desperately for you to stay stuck. And if you stay stuck, you'll be safe in Hilda's mind. And not that different from some of our friends and family, right? Our friends and family, we all know who we're talking about. Everybody can think of that one human or 7 humans, depending on your family situation, who wants you to be safe. And so they give you advice to make sure you stay safe and you don't take risks and you don't do anything. But it comes off as naysaying and it stings. It kind of hurts. That's really what we got to prepare for the holidays.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is that time of year when you run into those folks you don't see over the course of a year, and they remember you from the last time they saw you. So if you had something going on a year ago that was either good or bad, that's going to be what they're going to bring up first when they see you, obviously, is, oh, how's that thing going that you were talking about the last time we were together? So it can also bring up bad memories, because what if the last time you talked was about really nothing good? It was about some bad things that were going on in your life. Or maybe it was something that you hoped was going to happen, something fantastic was rocking your world, and then it all fell apart before the end of the year. And now you're coming back kind of with your tail between your legs, and somebody says, "Hey, how'd that big project you were working out work out for you?" And you're like, not so good. Or you could have that great story to tell that everything worked out wonderfully. So do we kind of have to plan ahead for Hilda?
I think it's a plan. So what I teach through the book is I talk about how to write what I call comebacks. The reason we name Hilda, this voice, this cartoon character who lives in your brain, a name, is so that when she pipes up, you can say something. You can hit her with a comeback. So when she says, "Who do you think you are?" you can say, "Let me tell you who I am." Okay. So what we need to do is plan slightly more polite comebacks for the human Hildas we know we're going to run into, right? And no matter what happened this year, just kind of prepare ourselves with, okay, when Aunt Bessie says this, here's how I plan to respond, right? Which might be changing the subject. It might be as simple as, "Oh, actually, yeah, it's Christmas. I don't really want to talk about business, but how's your grandkids?" Like it might be deciding to do that, or being, having an answer for the question she knows she's going to ask. For example, "How many books have you sold this year?" "Oh, I don't actually track that number. Thank you, Aunt Bessie." Or whatever it is you need to save face and make sure that she doesn't actually get to the feelings. See, Hilda fills your head with thoughts. And if you have a negative thought, like, "Oh, you shouldn't want that," then you're going to feel disempowered. You're going to feel bad. And then if you have those bad feelings, then you act accordingly, right? Thoughts, feelings, actions, kind of the deal. What we want to do is cut her off at the thought. So if a human Hilda is going to say it, she's going to say it. He's going to say it. The person we're talking about. They're going to say that thing. If you prepare yourself with okay, I'm going to challenge that thought. I'm not going to let their thought turn into a feeling. I'm going to let my thought, my truth turn into a feeling, and then stay there. It'll make a big difference.
Gotcha. And Nazim says Hilda's sending me coal this Christmas. Laugh out.
That's how Hilda rolls. That's the deal.
And we've got Jenna in the house saying, or set our boundaries to, or I guess of what human Hildas don't get to share that space too.
Absolutely. We have to set some boundaries, because I think that's the thing about family and the holidays. There's just so much pressure to do it the right way. There's so much pressure to celebrate the right way. How dare you, Leland, decide not to do the thing that you did when you were 6 years old? We get the same problem, right? One of the reasons that we're floating around the Atlantic Ocean at Christmas is we have no cell phone reception.
Hey, good point. Wow,
right?
There's an idea.
Right, exactly. So we think about it before the eggnog starts moving, and that's
a great idea. I never thought. No, I could do that here if I drive far enough out to the northeast over into the thumb. There's terrible cell reception out there, so I could probably find a B&B over there somewhere that I could hide out in to keep people from calling me, but I don't get phone calls anyway, unless they're business related. So it doesn't really matter.
I jest, but the truth is that the holidays, there's a whole lot of shoulds, right? Like even the most confident, badass people might live their life 11 and a half months out of the year, feeling like they write their own script. They do everything the way they're supposed to. And the last 2 weeks of the year, no matter what it is you celebrate, suddenly a lot of shoulds take over. And here's what you do because you've always done it. And tradition says this, and you have to follow that. And so, we always go to so-and-so's house for this and that, and the other thing. And all of those traditions, while mostly I think they're meant to be good. They can feed our Hildas if they're not the perfect situations for us. And if you're trying to change and blaze your own path, you just want to prepare yourself so that you can make sure that you're letting those last 2 months of the year be just as intentional.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people more or less stress over the expectations before the actual event even transpires, because we don't know what's going to happen. And when we try to forecast into the future what's going to take place on that holiday get-together or whatever it is, we're usually all anxious and working ourselves up over something. And then we get there and find out the person's not even there. That's how do we deal with that kind of Hilda that's messing with our brain when there really isn't any type of catalyst involved? We're creating our own catalyst, aren't we, in that sense?
Absolutely.
Or I know you have
it's called future tripping.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I stepped over you, but future tripping is a term for trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist yet. instead of actually being present with what's actually going on right now. And that's exactly what that is. You're tripping over the future instead of actually focusing on what's right now. So yeah, this is a big problem. So one of the things I would have you do as you prepare to go home for the holidays is figure out, okay, what is fair game and what is not fair game, and set those boundaries. Here are the things I want to share and talk about with my friends and family. And here are the things I don't necessarily want to talk about with my friends and family. Making sure that you feel really solid and comfortable with saying boundaries and being cool with saying, I don't want to have that discussion. That really helps. But it's all of the inner work that you're really talking about there too, Leland, of asking yourself, I think the most powerful question you can ask yourself is, so what? Why does this matter to you? So what if Aunt Bessie is going to have that opinion about whatever? So what if so-and-so thinks what you're doing is crazy? So what if nobody really understands why you spend that much time on Facebook every day? But I swear, it's my place of business, right? What if you ask yourself, so what? Maybe they don't get it. And find an empathetic response to the fact that they just don't understand, and they're showing up with their lens, and they care about you, and they're trying just to be supportive. What if you allow yourself to let them off the hook, but not actually let Hilda get a hold of their messages and use it against you?
Very good. And that's kind of what it comes down to, I think, is that we beat ourselves up more than anything, and we worry about what other people are thinking about us, when half the time those people aren't thinking about us anyway. So
no, they're worried about what everybody thinks about that.
Why do we stress about it? Exactly. So why do we even stress about that stuff? All right, Jenny, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to make this a short broadcast today. I'm not going to make it very long at all, because I've already wrapped my season up for the year over here at Wake Up West Coast. But I would like to see if there's anyone here in the seats that would like to jump in and ask you any questions, if that'd be okay with you. Have them take over and go from there. So I have opened up the seats, folks, and I saw a couple people mention that Jenna is actually one of your clients. It sounds like that. She was beating herself up with future tripping.
Yeah, Jenna, come on in and say hi to everybody.
If she'd like to say something about her experience, that'd be fantastic. And anyone else that would like to jump in, whether it's Stacy, Sonia, Steve, Nazim, come on along. I appreciate everybody being here today on Wake Up West Coast. And if not, leave your questions over there in the chat, and I'll continue to ask. And if you want to stick around, Jenny, I'm going to cover a note that I wrote on Facebook a while back about the holidays, and we'll kind of go through and see what we've got going for all these that are coming up.
Sounds good.
All right, here comes Jenna.
Hey, Jenna.
My wife's name is Jenna, only it's spelled differently. My wife spells her name Jenna. So
hello. That's because my whole name is Genevieve. But everybody always pronounces my name wrong because I just go by Jenna. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the broadcast, Jenna, and tell us about your experience that you've had with Coach Jenny and your future trip.
No pressure whatsoever. So I've been one of Jenny's clients now for a year. We had our year anniversary last Monday, which was exciting. And it's cool because I think everybody. I mean, I knew about the inner critic or the little lizard brain that you have. Like everybody has some, that's been part of terminology in my life for quite some time. But Jenny's way, I read her book, and the fact that I laughed out loud the entire time I read her book, because it was so poignant to like your own personal thoughts, just really triggered me to be like, okay, what's this broad up to? She's on to something. It doesn't make me feel guilty. I think sometimes the inner critic stuff that's out there can make you feel even more of depressed or have more self-doubt in yourself. And so it took me a little bit, and she knew, like, I'd hired coaches before and had been really like burnt by them, had ideas taken by them. And the coaching industry is such a huge industry where there's not always the best of people doing it. And so when I first went to her to hire her, I was like, listen, I don't know. I've done this before. I don't know about giving you my money. Is this really going to work? And thankfully, she helped me push through some of those issues, and by far has completely transformed my life and my business. So
thanks.
Awesome.
That's quite a testimonial for you there, Coach, for sure. And isn't there a process you put people through at the very beginning that is like it's a survey or something that you make them take so that you know that you're going to be a good fit with someone, and you're just not like one of those other coaches says, give me $1,000, I'll fix you kind of thing, which is what a lot of the coaches out there try to do. So
no, you cannot. So you can buy my book, and the link is there in the sidebar, but you cannot hire me without talking to me. I'm extraordinarily selfish about my coaching practice because I only like to work with people like Jenna who actually want to make a change and are doing something that fascinates me. And I know that sounds really selfish, but if somebody is doing something that fascinates me, that is doing something really exciting, that I know I can help, and what they're challenged with is exactly the thing that I help with, then I want to make sure that we have a connection. I feel like they get me and I get them. We don't have to be like-minded. We don't have to agree on everything. But what I have to make sure is that I'm going to be able to really help versus, the coaches who have these coaching programs that's like, if your check clears, then you're vetted. You know what I mean? That's when you end up with horrible situations like Jenna was describing before.
Which is crazy when she says people that fascinate me, because I was like a balling mess of like goo when I first came to Jenny. I think that it's really cool a year afterwards to see the work, and Jenny's great, but some of it was me doing my own work. And I think that's what like Jenny talks like in her course. There's a full workbook in her course that if I wouldn't have done the work in those areas to like tell her like, oh, this one is like really pushing me here. How do I work through this? Especially human Hildas. And for all of you who don't realize, your human Hilda could also be dead. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so like really working through some of those things that are balled up in grief and loving somebody, all those things. So yeah, some of it was just a lot of me like making sure I was telling her like, this one is really pushing my buttons and I want to quit.
Yeah. Now, did we mention the different types of Hilda, Jenny?
We did.
I don't think we did.
No.
You have like four different kinds of Hildas, don't you?
Correct. So when I started writing the book, I thought Hilda was Hilda and that's all there is to it. But as I was doing the research back on the Blab days, I realized that Hilda shows up in 4 different kind of ways. I'll go over this pretty quickly, but in short, they're called I can't, I shouldn't, I don't know, and I don't want a Hilda. So I can't Hilda shows up like this bully, like a playground bully who's just beating you up to convince you that you suck. I shouldn't Hilda shows up kind of like, imagine you're like a freshman going into high school, but your big sister's about to be a senior. That's that I shouldn't Hilda. Do not embarrass me through my high school senior year, or I'll kick your ass, right? Like that's I shouldn't Hilda. She's obsessed with how everybody sees you. Right. I don't know. Hilda's kind of like a panicked coworker. She can't start anything. She's terrified of starting anything. So she needs to do more research because she just doesn't know enough yet. She's the one that's always buying all the info crack and getting you stuck in a web of, but what if, but what if, but what if? And then finally there's I don't want a Hilda, which I didn't see her coming. But I don't want a Hilda. She's completely different. She's like the enabler. She's like that girl that desperately wants to be your best friend that you kind of can't stand but kind of love at the same time because she makes you feel good. She's the one that's like, you worked hard today. I mean, you showered. So let's watch Netflix, let's do that. You don't need to work anymore. So these 4 different Hildas show up in all of these different ways. And Nazim says, what if I don't fit into any of these Hildas? The thing is that all 4 of these broads are the 4 Hildas. They're not you. You don't have like a Hilda personality. But depending on what you've got going on, one of these 4 broads or one variation of them is probably showing up trying to stop you. Jen and I've had fun discussions before of like when they get in cahoots. Like if you have I can't Hilda and I don't want a Hilda working against you, you just don't do anything. Yeah. But if you want to learn which Hilda is really bothering you today, there's a free quiz on my site. If you go to stopyourinnercritic.com, you can take a quick 7 question amusing quiz and find out which of the Hildas is giving you the most grief today.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it, I found it on, actually I found the link at the bottom of your website too, which is hildathebook.com. So that one's also out there. So you have 2 different sites. What was the second one you just gave me?
Yeah, just to go directly to the quiz, you can go to stopyourinnercritic.com. It's a little easier to remember if you haven't met Hilda yet. And it'll give you a little dossier on the Hilda that's giving you the most grief right now.
So, get ready.
Yeah, right. They should be able to get to the link. And I took your survey and I was, definitely impressed with the way you're able to draw out that that avatar of the Hilda that you're stuck with, because I wasn't even sure where I was at, but we've had our conversations. Coach and I I've used her as a confidant over the years for several different things. And it's always a pleasure to sit down with her and just let it go, because she'll sit there and take it. And then she gives that cathartic shove that you need after the fact.
Oh,
it's a term
yeah.
she's coined herself. Tell us about a cathartic shove. What exactly is it?
Mm-hmm. So, this is one of the differentiators, as they say in marketing speak. Coaches are known for being sweet and gentle and encouraging. And I am none of those things, really. I mean, I'm encouraged.
I'm trying not to laugh.
Right?
Puts the hammer down.
So the best way to explain this is with sign language. It just is. So in sign language, this is the sign for encourage. Like, it's gently pushing forward in small moments. But I give cathartic shoves. I push you beyond what you're actually comfortable with, without actually touching you. I'm not physically violent.
Can I share something here?
Before you're ready for it. But Jenna, she describes it with a hashtag that is really quite fun. This thing.
Oh, knife in the heart. So I know if she's really pushed, like, I know it's really working when I feel like this deep pain in my heart. That is like, oh man, that's truth. Or I want to like throw a dart at a picture of Jenny. That is really kind of, because I love her to pieces. She's really helped me work through so much, but there's still, you know, like all of us, there's still things to work on. And if I really feel like I don't like her for a moment, then I know, wait a second. And that's only after like a year of coaching with her. She starts to realize where she needs to push you a little bit further, a little bit further.
I know what you need to do, Jenny. You need to take that really cool picture of yourself that we see all the time out there on, you know, social media, this lovely picture of you on the webpage. And you need to put a big old bullseye on the front of it and sell them for like $2.50 a piece online so that people can throw darts at you during their coaching.
It's a really good idea, actually. I often say to do a shot for your dartboard. Here's the thing, though. I think most coaches are let their I shouldn't Hilda win. And I shouldn't Hilda tells you that you want to make sure everybody likes you. I didn't get into coaching to make sure everybody likes me. I mean, that's why... I don't know. That's why you become something completely different. I got into coaching because I wanted to push people to be the best possible versions of themselves. And I help people get out of their own way so they can get on with the business of changing the world. That means I have to tell the truth of what I'm really seeing, you know? And so in order to do that, sometimes they don't like me. One of the things that's really, I think would really freak out, especially a new coach, is that there's rarely a group coaching call I have that somebody doesn't say F you, Jenny, to my face. It happens often, right, Jenna?
Between the FU and tears and whatever else. It's
right, but it's not because I'm out to hurt you. I'm out to really show you the truth and really point out how you are squandering your potential. And nobody, I mean, I know that Oprah and Marianne Williamson say we're afraid of our potential, but I don't think we're actually afraid of our potential. I think we're terrified of squandering it. And I want to point out whenever you're doing something or thinking something or allowing Hilda to convince you to squander a little bit more. So that's why I give what I call those cathartic shoves. Leland and both Leland and Jenna have been on the receiving end of those. And I want to push your buttons because I want to shorten the amount of time that Hilda's able to hold you back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right. Well, I'm going to shorten this up. So, Jenna, was there anything you'd like to convey to the people who are watching about your experience with Jenna? Like, give them, if they want to work with Jenny, what to expect maybe, or how to work through this process of breaking away from them?
Like, So rule number one is I'm not allowed to make the coach cry.
Yes.
So that's rule number one. But if you have been, I personally think it's life and business. And I think at first, when we're thinking about hiring a coach nowadays, we're thinking if we're trying to start our own business as an entrepreneur, and Jenny definitely caters to that. But I personally feel like there were things as I went through her course. If you're thinking about hiring a coach, think about what are the areas that maybe you're afraid of looking at your own life. Because as you're going through Jenny's course, those are the parts that you're going to have to work on first. before you can even get into those other places of like your dreams and hopes for a business or anything like that. And I really think read the book, because that's how I knew to an essence that she wasn't just about my business, that she was about, no, wait, if you're going to have a great business, you also need to have worked through some things in your life. And so I would say, think about that, because she's not just a business coach. She's a life coach first, which is one of the things I love about her.
Yeah. And that makes a big difference. I think a lot of people out there take either side, life or business, and you find they lack in some areas because of that.
Totally.
They've taken a narrow road. And I think, Jenny, you've done a wonderful job of merging the two into a format that's more than easy to understand, but it's also a hilarious way to do it. So I think you've done a great job there.
As much as
Jenna,
Crier makes us say F you to her, she makes us laugh 10 times more. So
thank you. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Jenna. I'm going to be changing up the topic here in just a minute. So I'm just going to ask you to take a seat in the audience as we continue on, and then we'll bring people.
See you later.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. I do appreciate it. All right. We'll see you around. Thanks so much. All right, Jenny, is there any other advice you'd like to give any of the viewers out there? And I'm going to switch up topics. You can stick around or not. That's fine. I'm going to be reading off of a script.
I'll just say, if anybody is out there and you find that, you realize that the problem isn't that you don't know enough. The problem isn't that you just procrastinate. The problem is that you can't for the life of you figure out how to get out of your own way. That's what my work is about. And I'd love to help you with that. But the bottom line is, when you're going into your holidays, don't let Hilda ruin them for you. Make sure that you are celebrating your holidays the way you want, whether that's celebrating or not, and that you get the most out of this time, because we only get one big spin on this blue marble, depending on what you believe. And I want you to make the most of it.
Yeah, and I think in the end, whether you have biological family or the family that you've gathered through it, whether it's social media or just communities that you're involved with on the outside, it's those people that you really need to touch base with. Don't feel obligated to get uncomfortable with people you're not really well connected with. Just find a way to break that tie somewhere in your life, because that can really hold you back, not letting go of those toxic relationships that you have in your life, or the ones that are keeping you where you're at. So thanks again, Coach. I appreciate you stopping by on such short notice. Guys. All right. Take care. Have a great Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you're going to do. And on that note, we're going to switch it up just a little bit. I'm going to go to an article that I wrote with the help of some other friends, obviously, because it's not just me that put it together. But I had to do this because it got to the point where, around here anyway, where I'm at, it's a very, let's just say we're somewhat in a Bible belt. It's very conservative. So we have a lot of Christian-based observances here. A lot of Merry Christmas. Every town around here is decorated in lights, just like most do. And I have no problems with Christmas whatsoever. I enjoy it. My family enjoys it. My granddaughter observes it. Many of my grandchildren observe it as well. Actually, none of our children are Jewish. So we have this strange dynamic in our house. But what I encountered a couple of years ago while running a detail shop here in this town was the fact that I was detailing automobiles for the major dealerships in the area. And what ended up happening was a gentleman came in during this time of the year and said to me, "Merry Christmas." And I said, "Well, happy holidays." And he stood his ground in front of me, stepped up 2 steps, got in my face, and said, "No, I said Merry Christmas." I said, "Okay, that's great, but happy holidays." I thought this guy was going to go fisticuffs with me for a minute over the fact that I didn't wish him a Merry Christmas. And I want to address that for the sake of what it is. If somebody wants to say Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or Happy Holidays, more power to them. I don't have any problem with that at all. But when you think you have the God-given right to tell someone what they should be saying during the holidays, then I think you need a refresher course on what the holiday season is. A lot of people will come to me in efforts of this happy holiday thing and say, "Well, the reason for the season is," and they try to tell me what the reason for the season is. That's one perspective. That's only a one-sided coin. They don't realize that there are literally 38 different holidays that are observed this time of year. And a lot of people forget that we're going to go through the list. So if you want to join me, I just wanted to start this off with a preface. If you have any stories you want to tell about your holiday experience, I have one I'm going to tell you. And this comes from the heart because it happened to me personally, and I'll just let you know what it was. I was dealing with my 7-year-old son who's been estranged from me. He's my youngest child. And during this period of time when he was that age, he's now 16. He was going through the transition of understanding Santa Claus, that whole lie that we tell our kids every year that this is how the Christmas spirit is brought about. It's okay. I'm just calling it a lie for what it is. It's not truth. So it's just a made up story. It's folklore. In that regard, it went one level too far for me. I was told by a court of law that I was not allowed to tell my 7-year-old son there was no Santa Claus, even though we already knew there was no Santa Claus. I had to go through a psychological evaluation, which cost me $350 because I told my son there was no Santa Claus at the age of 7, which he'd already figured out anyway, all because of conflicts over a holiday. So that's why I wrote this article, and we're going to go through it. So if you want to hop in, the seats are open. I'm going to shrink down a little bit into the side here while we do this so that I can read off of this somewhat script, you might say, that I have. And we're going to go through all the holidays that are actually observed this time of year so that people get a little better understanding of why there's nothing wrong with using the term Happy Holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, use it. If you celebrate Hanukkah, use it. But if you're going to say it to somebody that's observing a different holiday, expect either Happy Holidays or like when people say to me Merry Christmas, especially when it's before Christmas, if I'm at Walmart in the checkout line or something, they'll say Happy Holidays or Merry, especially if it's Merry Christmas, I'll say Happy Hanukkah, because I'm referring to them, to the holiday I observe. They're okay to express theirs to me. I'm fine with that. I could even say Merry Christmas to them because it's their holiday. I don't mind saying, oh, well, Merry Christmas to you. Happy Hanukkah for me, kind of thing. So that's how it works. All right, so I'm going to duck down here into the corner for a minute, and we're going to read through my Happy Holidays, damn it, which was the article I wrote. I'm going to brief this up a little bit so you guys can see this a little better. Maybe you'll be able to read it. Maybe you won't. But I'm going to run through it real quick because it's kind of amusing, and I'm going to read this like a script so you get a better idea how the story goes. Better yet, I'm going to leave you a link. So here's the link to the note on my... Yes, no Santa, believe it or not. Nazim, they actually made me pay a fine for that. It's kind of amusing how I, of all people, am now the one becoming somewhat offended each time I see or hear someone forcing their worldview. Oops, you want to be able to read that. There we go. I was going to move it over to another screen. Of having a Merry Christmas on nearly every human being they encounter. The same people proclaim to be in the right, or right-wing maybe, by proclaiming some form of precedence, or if it was always, as if it was always Christmas and nothing but Christmas anywhere in America. Or here on earth, for that matter, like their precious holiday is all that ever existed. Now, I'm not condemning Christianity. I'm simply saying there's some people out there who like to force Christmas on you. You see it all the time. And I'm over it. And they should get over it too. And I'll tell you why. Many fundamentalists really don't get it. They're not open-minded to others' beliefs. Most of them feel that their religion is the one true faith. And I say that with regards to many of the observed religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all kind of feel like their tenets are the religion kind of thing. And then Hindus feel that way, Buddhists feel that way. It's just the way it works. That's how religion affects these holidays. So let's step over that part. But the fact is, the origins of this not so religious and certainly not so American holiday can be found just about anywhere you look. That is, if you have eyes to see and a thirst for truth and knowledge. All of the tithing and good cheer actually stems from a twisted collage of various pagan observances, nowhere near as altruistic, that derived from many places overseas and found their way here through various cultures and ethnic groups. Now, I won't address those devilish details here like I did in the text, but I think everyone that observes holidays or holds fast to their beliefs of their choosing should take it upon themselves to learn the truth themselves, which I did. I went and studied it, and I figured out what it was all about. So, in case you already didn't know, memes like the one I plastered at the top of this post belong, my words, is a list taken from Wikipedia and all the other festive holiday observances taking place in the month of December. So here we go. Let's run down the list of those that are observed. And if you observe any of these, please let us know how you do so. Or if you want to jump in and tell us about the way you observe Christmas or New Year's or any other holiday that's coming up this end. So, all right, take it easy, Coach. Nice seeing you. Thanks for stopping by. I always love having Coach Jenny here on the show. So Buddhism starts off the list. We're kind of going to go alphabetical here. Bodhi Day, 8th of December. Now, that was during about the time we were observing Hanukkah this year. Now, Hanukkah bounces. It can be toward Christmas, or it could be at the beginning of the month, or it can actually be in November. So it depends. We add a 13th month every so many years on the Jewish calendar. So you never really know when Hanukkah is going to land for that 8 days, but you have to kind of follow back. So that's a day of enlightenment, celebrating the day that the historical Buddha experienced enlightenment, also known as Bodhi. Christianity, they have the Advent, which is the fourth Sunday preceding December 25th. We have Krampusnacht, which is December 5th, or the Feast of St. Nicholas, which is celebrated in parts of Europe on the 6th of December. Nazim, you ever heard of that one? I've never heard of that one. St. Nicholas Day, December 6th. Our Lady of Guadalupe, 12th of December, an important honor of Mexico's patron saint. St. Lucia's Day, 13th of December, church feast day. St. Lucia comes as a young woman with lights and sweets. Longest Night, the church service to help those coping with loss, usually held on the eve of the winter solstice, which, of course, is when we transfer from fall to winter. Christmas Eve, December 24th, is celebrated by some that don't celebrate Christmas even. We used to always do our celebrations on Christmas Eve or a week before because of the time frames with families, and then we would celebrate after another week after following. And, of course, Christmas Day on the 25th, though we all know where that one came from, right? Mishnah, maybe? It's all kinds of places. We'll look it up. Anastasia of Cyrenium, feast day is also the 25th. The 12 days of Christmas from 25th of December to 6th of January, La Posadas, which is the 16th of December to the 24th for celebration and prayer to reenact Mary and Joseph's journey to Bethlehem. St. Stephen's Day, the 26th. St. John the Evangelist Day, the 27th. Holy Innocents Day, the 28th. St. Sylvester's Day. Never heard of it. The 31st. That's just the Christian side. Now let's go into the fictional or parodies that come about during the holiday season. We celebrated one on Blab Nation, if you guys remember it. Saturnalia is one that they do a lot. But the Feast of the Winter Veil, December 15th to January 2nd, a holiday in the world of Warcraft. If you're one of those gamers, that's one that they have every year on the servers. Feast of Alvis in the TV series C-Lab 2021. Believer, you have forgotten the true meaning of Elvis Day. Neither is it ham nor pomp. Nay, the true meaning of Elvis Day is drinking in revenge. Hogs Watch, a holiday celebrated in the financial world of Discworld. It's very similar to the Christian celebration of Christmas. Festivus, that was the one we did. Remember? Over on Blab Nation, Jonathan Tripp and I celebrated Festivus. That's the same holiday they celebrated on Seinfeld, was the coming of Festivus. It's a parody holiday created by Daniel O'Keefe and made popular by Seinfeld as an alternative for those who didn't want to celebrate Christmas. December Ween, the 25th of December, a parody of Christmas that features gift-giving, carol singing, and decorated trees. The fact that it takes place on December 25th, the same day as Christmas, has been presented as just a coincidence, and it has been stated that December Ween traditionally takes place 55 days after Halloween. The holiday has been featured in the Homestar Runner series. And then there's Winter's Day, the end of the year celebration in the fictional universe of the Guild Wars franchise, which is similar to that World of Warcraft stuff. It's online. It's one of those games that you pay for. Let's move into Hinduism. Pancha Ganapati, 21st to the 25th of December, modern 5-day festival in honor of Lord Ganesha, celebrated by the Hindus in the USA. Historical Malk, the 25th of December, Modranit, or Mother's Night, the Saxon winter solstice, Saturnalia, as I mentioned, the Roman winter solstice festival, and Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, or Day of the Birth of the Unconquered Sun, where they got the whole idea of the birth of the sun, which was not the sun of the sky, but the son of God is the way they told that story. Judaism, Hanukkah, as we mentioned, is called the Festival of Lights, or the Feast of Dedication. It's an 8-day Jewish holiday commemorating the rededication of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem during the time of the Maccabean Revolt. So if you want to read about the Maccabees or check out the band, the Maccabees, they do some really cool a cappella holiday songs. Paganism, a lot of folks going back to this recently from what I've seen. Yule winter festival that was celebrated by the historical Germanic people from late December to early January. And we have Yalda from the 21st to the turning point, which is the winter solstice. And then we have secular holidays like Human Rights Day, December 10th, Zamenhof Day, 15th of December, birthday of Ludwig Zamenhof. Soyal, 21st of December, of Zuni and Hopi. Human Light, Newton Mas, which is to represent Isaac Newton. Quaid Azam's Day, December 25th. Boxing Day, 26th of December, day after. You notice how a lot of these are December 25th. If you've ever looked up the historical reference to Mithra and the other many gods that have been witnessed to be born of a virgin, many of these scripts go along the same route of the storytelling with regards to the dates and times. Again, these were primarily pagan time festivals that were either adopted by the Catholic Church to bring people into the church, or any other various modes of assimilation into other religions. Kwanzaa, December 26th to the 1st, Pan-African festival celebrated in the U.S. Watch Night, the 31st of December. New Year's Eve, December 31st. Hagmanade, night of December 31st, Scottish New Year's Eve. The Dongzi Festival, the celebration of winter. And then there's the Unitarian Universalism, which is Shalika, for the first week of December. The holiday was created in 2005, celebrated by some of the Unitarian Universalists. So now that I've shown everyone the holidays that are actually taking place during this time of the year, I think it's apropos to just say happy holidays. I hope all of you out there who are observing any of the 38 that I just mentioned in this broadcast are enjoying, or have enjoyed, or are soon to enjoy peace and love and happiness and joy, because it's not about so much the material aspect of the holiday, the gift giving and, the driving to the families to have the meal. It's the actual community involvement. It's the sharing of your time and yourself. And getting together, whether it's family or friends, doesn't really matter who those people are. They could be total strangers on the street. One thing that my wife and I tend to like to do when we can is we like to head out, and usually we would fill like a bag of, we'd go get bread and drinks and whatever, and we'd try to find people out on the streets who were not doing so well and pass off something to them, whether it was a coat or shoes or a meal or whatever. And that's really where I think feeding the poor, taking care of the widow and the orphan and things of that nature are really much more important at this time of year. So wish you all the best. I'm going to wrap it up with that on a somewhat serious note, because this is that time of year where we should show lots of love and just be ourselves. Don't try to be that one-off person that ruins it for everybody else this holiday. Even if you're having a bad time at the end of this year, find a way to gather up some spirit and just enjoy that time that you get to spend with those people you don't see but once a year. All right, everyone. I'm going to leave it at that. Rich, thanks for sticking around through the whole broadcast. At least one person made it. And if you're out there on Facebook and YouTube, I do appreciate you being here at Wake Up West Coast. We're done for the year. You're not going to see me again until January, so stick around next year and we'll go from there. It'll be season 2. We'll kick off with a whole new set of interviews with people that you might not meet anywhere else, but they'll be coming from all around the world. This has been Leland Best out at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime. See you in the next broadcast. Take care and have a great week.